Day one, the AJC Decatur Book Fest.
Here for a real treat today, and it is my privilege and my pleasure to introduce to you Pearl Clay.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I love this festival. It's wonderful to be in an area where everybody that you pass on the street really loves books. I just stopped in the ladies' room before I came here and there was a line. And when I walked in, the women at the front of the line said, "Oh, you have to get ready for your session. You should come to the front. Don't start without us." So are the people who let me come to the front of the line, are y'all here? Thank you, thank you. So I would like to say I have been in ladies' room lines at rock concerts, Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, all that. No one ever invites anyone to go to the front. So that is my testimony about the fact that these are book lovers in here. So it's really wonderful to be here, and thank you for coming. I'm going to read a little bit from the book, and then I would love to have us engage in conversation. The book is called Things I Should Have Told My Daughter, and it's lovely to be talking about it today because this is my daughter's birthday. And that's nice. And I always call her, I drive her crazy on her birthday because I always call and tell her birth story. You know, I call her and say, "Okay, just went into labor. Okay, you're 5 minutes old." And she's like, "Okay, now I'm 40. I really don't need to hear my birth story." But I think everybody needs to hear their birth story. So this is, it's lovely to be here to talk about her on her birthday. I've been thinking about truth for a long time in a conscious way, but I recently put myself to the test by deciding to write a memoir consisting almost entirely of entries from my journals dating from the 1970s through the 1980s. In order to do this, I had to ask myself if I was prepared to share pieces of my life that were originally meant for my eyes only. Could I show myself warts and all, in the hope that Anais Nin is right in saying, the personal life deeply lived always expands into truths beyond itself. She also said there are very few human beings who receive the truth complete and staggering by instant illumination. Most of them acquire it fragment by fragment on a small scale by successive developments cellularly like a laborious mosaic. So I hope the pieces I shared from my journals could be part of that mosaic, little realizing the challenge of the truth when writing not only about my own life, but the lives of people who happened to show up in the midst of my mad, passionate flight toward freedom, with enough force to be recorded in my song of self. And now there they sit, hoping I will not show them to be less than they hoped they were. I realize these pages will be perused by the wives of lovers long gone but not forgotten. These pages detailing exes and sexes and moments of truth, opinions on artists you admired and the ones you did not, and suddenly there one of them sits in the audience that you're reading, having no idea you called her a prisshead way back in the 80s. And I shake her hand and feel guilty when she buys the book, but those are just details. The fact is, truth needs a soldier, and it's not like I cleaned up my old rough edges. The journals reveal me to be a self-absorbed, work-obsessed, adulterous, music and dope-loving, dope-smoking movie lover with bad credit and a closet so full of skeletons it's a wonder I can squeeze in any clothes. But there is so much work to do and so little time to do it, except we have all the time we need if we will just admit that we know what we know and we see what we see and we be who we be. The question. I told my daughter over lunch at our favorite hamburger joint that upon my death, which as far as I knew was not imminent, I wanted to leave the diaries and journals I've been keeping since I was 11 years old to my granddaughter Chloe, who was 3 at the time. My daughter didn't even pause to consider the idea. "Absolutely not," she said calmly, reaching for the ketchup. "She does not need to know all that." "All what?" I said, surprised by her reaction. "All that," she said, raising her eyebrows as if I knew perfectly well what all that was, so she wasn't required to provide any specifics. "You've never even read my journals," I said. I knew this to be true since she had politely declined my offer to provide her with unlimited access to them when I thought she might be curious, somewhere around her 15th birthday. I didn't want her to have to sneak and read them the way I did when I discovered a volume of my own mother's diary, carefully concealed in the back of her closet. That discovery made me understand for the first time that my mother had a rich interior life, not to mention a sex life, that didn't include me at all. Far from being hurt by this, it deepened my affection and respect for my mother, who had now been revealed to me as a mysterious, passionate, creative woman, engaged in a valiant struggle to balance love and freedom. My daughter didn't see it that way. She saw the journals as uncensored, unedited slices of my life, meant for my eyes only. Any attempt to include others in such an intimate experience after the fact and through no fault of their own struck my child as self-indulgent, insensitive, and unnecessary. Aren't you even curious, I said. Curious about what, my daughter said. About my life, I said. About what happened, Mom, she said gently but firmly. I know what happened. I was there, remember? After that, it seemed wiser to move on to more neutral topics, but I couldn't get her reaction out of my mind. If part of any sane woman's life is figuring out how to spot the lies, remember the lessons, and engage passionately in the love affairs, aren't my journals among the most primary of primary sources? And even though my daughter is telling me they are probably nothing more than a toxic brew of rage, whining, scandalous behavior, and unreliable memories, I am not convinced. After all, she only has one half of the equation to consider. Yes, she was there, but my daughter was not privy to the relentless soul-searching, merciless self-observation and rigorous self-analysis that allowed me to survive my early womanhood and emerge with my health and sanity still relatively intact. Those crucial conversations only took place in the pages of my journals, where clarity came slowly over years, and the resulting behavioral changes occurred gradually enough that my daughter could not be expected to draw a straight line from one state to the other. She only saw the wildness of my mad flight toward financial independence, sexual liberation, creative fulfillment, and free womanhood, not necessarily in that order. Looking back, I wonder if it's possible that the things I didn't tell her are as important as the things I did. Do us all a favor, she says gently, dropping me off at home later. Burn them up and be done with it. I am shocked by her suggestion. If I was going to burn them, I could have done that every year as part of my usual New Year's rituals. Give thanks for what is just finished and what is about to begin. Make your resolutions. Drink champagne with the beloved. Burn your journals. No way. There is a reason why I saved all these journals all these years. Carting them from my baby girl bedroom to my college dorm, to a series of apartments, and finally, home. There is a reason they have survived, and even if I'm not exactly sure what that reason is, I probably ought to think about it a little longer before doing anything as irrevocable as burning. I decide there is only one way to figure out who's right. I'll read them all and then decide. I am surprised to realize how many there are. Stacked in cardboard boxes, stashed in my great-grandmother's Alabama steamer trunk, spilling over the sides of an overflowing and badly tattered basket, demanding organization and attention. They have mutely rebuked me many times as another year passes, and I add a few new volumes to their number without going back to be sure that 1967 isn't crowding 1996, and that those pages I took out from December of 1982 were correctly replaced and not stuck in April of 1984 by mistake. Clearly, the first challenge in narrowing my search for mystery and meaning is to find a manageable number of notebooks. I need an organizing principle, but based on what? Dates, times, places, decades? The idea of a couple of decades appeals to me. 20 years is not enough time to be overwhelming, but it's more than enough to be a representative sample. As best I can recall, the 2 decades between 1970 and 1990 were pretty action-packed as far as those lies, lessons, and love affairs I was talking about earlier. I know for a fact that I left college, moved to Atlanta, got married, finished college, got a job, had a baby, quit a job. Wrote a book, helped elect a mayor, quit another job. Got divorced, lived by my wits, became an artist, had a play produced, had my heart broken, mended it. Found my honor, found my smile. Realized I was a lot stronger than I had thought I was, a lot wilder too, but all that came much further up the road. February 9, 1971, New York City. On the road with Karen Spellman for the Southern Education Program recruitment tour. We're recruiting Black grad students to teach at Black Southern colleges for 2 years after they finish grad school. We presented kind of like a Peace Corps thing, which is weird, but I think a lot of people see the South as a foreign country anyway. So our slogan is Teach Your Brother. Karen gives the spiel, answers questions, I hand out information, share this, and then the sponsor takes us out to dinner. It's fun. Glad I don't have to do the speech. February 11, 1971, Princeton, New Jersey. Karen made me give the speech. She didn't even tell me until right before the program started. I tried to freak out, but she wasn't having it, so I had to get up and do it. Once I got started, it was pretty cool. I believe in what we're doing, so I talked about how important it was and how much they would get out of it. People seemed pretty responsive and came up after to thank us for coming and take our brochures. When we got ready to walk across campus for dinner, the whole group of us were together, but I started talking to this guy from Trenton. He said his name was Zarin Burnett, and he was a conscientious objector leaving the next day for 2 years of alternative service in a state mental hospital. There was snow and ice on the ground, and while we were walking, he offered me his arm. It was nice, old-fashioned and kind of courtly. We ended up sitting together and kept talking all through dinner. I really liked him. It almost felt like we were picking up a conversation in progress. He walked with us back to our car, and it was really cold and very clear, dark sky and lots of stars. I wished him luck, but he didn't seem worried about going, like it was another adventure and he was ready for it. It seemed like a movie scene, little snowflakes swirling around us, a brief moment before returning to the struggle. I felt like I should kiss him, but Karen was standing right there.